Xabi Alonso is the latest managerial casualty of 2026, whilst Man United close in on their next interim boss, and Spurs turn to Chelsea's former captain to save their season. This is DMAC Daily. It wasn't supposed to be like this. The managerial prodigy Xabi Alonso that broke football in Germany, returning to the club he once made history with as a player to usher in a new era post Carlo Ancelotti. Madridsters, by and large, couldn't have been more optimistic about this appointment, about the future of the club, having seen Hansi Flick, a former Bundesliga star coach, immediately change the fortunes of a previously struggling Barca, leading them to a domestic treble. Alonso was expected to orchestrate similar success, to bring tactical identity to a team lacking structure of any kind. But as we all know, nothing is predetermined in football. And now, just 6 months later, it's already over. Now, if you haven't been paying close attention to Madrid this season, you may be a little surprised to see him go already. After all, Madrid are only 4 points shy of top spot in La Liga. They're expected to automatically qualify for the UCL round of 16. They've still got the Copa del Rey in the mix too. To part ways after a Supercopa defeat in Saudi Arabia seems rather extreme. But truth be told, the writing has been on the wall for some time now. Alonso tried to implement a radical shift in the player power dynamics within Madrid, but was unable to exert authority or win over key figures within the dressing room. The unrelenting media cycle at Madrid then turned toxic rapidly, and the uninspiring performances on the pitch were only amplifying his woes. You see, a lot of voices are now coming out solely condemning the Madrid players for Alonso's demise, saying they alone are responsible for this debacle. Now, whilst there certainly is an element of truth to that analysis, I mean, that video of Mbappe pulling ranks over Alonso to scrap the guard of honor is telling. Alonso looked defeated in that moment. But I think people are also forgetting about the very real flaws of Alonso's tenure, because for someone that should have had a great understanding of a Galactico dressing room, he struggled to maintain any sort of harmony within this team. The obvious example is the highly publicized spat with Vinny Jr., an issue that was never really resolved. The fact that Vinny Jr. then went unpunished only undermined Alonso's leadership further. But Vinny alone wasn't responsible for the squad dissatisfaction that was heavily reported. Now, if Madrid's performances were showing real signs of progress, then maybe more of the players would have genuinely bought into his methods. But rarely did this iteration of Madrid produce memorable displays. For large periods of this campaign, they have been an uninspiring watch, even when they were winning matches. Thierry Henry was vocal of Alonso's overemphasis on philosophy as opposed to man management, suggesting he's coaching too much for some people and not managing enough. Gareth Bale, a former Galactico himself, echoed that sentiment, stating, "I think everybody knows at Real Madrid it's about managing players sometimes rather than just tactics." This may be a fundamental flaw of the club's ethos, that talent alone can only get you so far, but at the same time, this is a group of players that has repeatedly succeeded in the past. The only major difference now is the Mbappe factor. His arrival has been a bit of a contradiction, because whilst he's individually been brilliant, those around him have dropped off considerably and the team has arguably suffered. That was kind of the whole thought process behind Alonso's initial appointment, that a structured tactician was required in order to succeed with such a star-studded ensemble in attack. But evidently, that has not gone according to plan, with both parties mutually agreeing to go their separate ways, as fellow former player Alvaro Arbeloa has swiftly been appointed as their new manager, which may raise a few eyebrows. He was only appointed as manager of RM Castilla, which compete in Spain's third tier back in May. But internally, he has been highly rated at Madrid for some time. And remember, Zidane famously took over from Madrid's B team and then went on to win 11 trophies. Now, I'm not suggesting that Arbeloa is the second coming of Zidane in management. I'm just saying, don't write him off straight away. I'm interested to see what's next for Alonso, though. I think his reputation is still exceptionally high. No doubt Arne Slot is really going to have to lock in till the season's end for Liverpool, because the player power dynamic of that club is far more aligned to Alonso's approach to management. Just saying. Staying on the topic of managers, and Manchester United appear to have closed in on their next interim appointment, with Michael Carrick reportedly set to take over for the remainder of the season. Despite Ole Gunnar Solskjaer also holding talks with the club, they've opted for the former central midfielder to step in. Darren Fletcher, who has overseen the team on a caretaker basis since Ruben Amorim was sacked, is expected to remain involved as part of Carrick's staff, with at least one additional coach likely to be appointed. I'd assume it will be a former high-profile player to come in, maybe a Rooney, Keane, or Van Nistelrooy type figure, someone who has a strong understanding of the United of old. It seems the ownership are now intent on restoring the club's former identity. Easier said than done. Just on Carrick though, and remember, this isn't actually his first stint at the club as a manager. We all know about his 12-year playing career, but he also oversaw a 3-game stint as caretaker boss back in 2021 before Ralf Rangnick was appointed as interim. During that spell, he won 2 games and drew 1. Then he got the Middlesbrough job and proceeded to smash it in his first campaign. When he joined in October, they were languishing in the Championship's relegation zone, but he was able to guide Borough all the way up to a 4th place finish. However, in the next 2 seasons at the helm, Borough somewhat regressed, finishing 8th followed by 10th. So make of that what you will. Obviously, he's no Liam Rosenior, that much is clear, but in all seriousness, I'm keen to see how he performs. During Fletcher's short time in charge, he reiterated that the main focus should be on Champions League qualification, and having tactically knocked themselves out of the FA Cup, they can now fully focus on the league. And I mean, they're only 3 points shy of top 4 at this stage, so this is a golden opportunity for the Englishman. If he were to secure top 4, then I think he'd be a serious contender for the job permanently. Staying in English football, and we got ourselves a major transfer story in the works, with the news that Conor Gallagher is set to join Tottenham Hotspur in a €40 million deal. Aston Villa were also heavily interested in the player too, and reportedly had a deal agreed, but it appears as though the 25-year-old former Chelsea player has since decided on a return to London via Spurs. Now, this transfer has caused a stir within the Tottenham fan base. Many feel that this kind of player wasn't desperately required in the short term. Despite Bentancur being ruled out for 3 months, Tottenham do have a lot of options in midfield already, and that if they were to invest in another midfielder, then perhaps a ball progressing profile should have been prioritized. But Gallagher is a versatile option. He has thrived in a more advanced role at Palace, but also has the work ethic to contribute as an 8 or even as a 6. Additionally, he's homegrown, is an experienced Premier League player, has a fantastic attitude, and is only 25. I quite liked Gallagher when he was at Chelsea, somewhat technically limited, but he always showed a devout commitment to the badge, at least whilst he was employed by them. He's the type of character that Tottenham as a club are sorely lacking. That being said, it's going to take a lot more than Conor Gallagher alone to fix this mess. In other quick-fire transfer news, Lucas Paquetá has agreed a deal with Flamengo, with a reported €40 million deal on the horizon. Marseille wonder kid Robinho Vaz has agreed to join Roma in a €25 million transfer. That is some pickup for the Giallorossi. Meanwhile, Timo Werner is heading to America, joining the San Jose Earthquakes for a currently undisclosed fee. 17-year-old England youth international Brian Maggio joins Aston Villa from Metz for £10 million, and son of Zlatan, Maximilio Ibrahimovic, is destined to leave Milan but join another club of his father's, moving to Ajax on a loan with an option to buy at the season's end for 3.5 mil. And to close out today's ep, we had some big matches take place in the last 24 hours. Liverpool with a 4-1 win over Barnsley at Anfield to advance to the FA Cup 4th round. Szoboszlai went from hero to villain real quick, scoring an absolute worldie from range before spectacularly failing a back heel in his own box. A gift for Adam Phillips, but Liverpool's new signings came to the rescue in the end. Frimpong with his first goal at Anfield before the second half heroics of Wirtz and Ekitike off the bench, both scoring and assisting one another. Moving to Italy, and Spalletti's Juve with a statement 5-0 win at the Allianz, which sees them rise up to 3rd in the Serie A. Spalletti has got this team back on track immediately, and Jonathan David is starting to string some quality performances together. He's been largely ineffective since joining, but he's now finding his feet in Turin. That being said, how this was given a penalty, I'll never know. That is an incredibly harsh interpretation of handball. Meanwhile, PSG have exited the Coupe de France at the hands of Paris FC as Jonathan Akone's lone strike sunk his former club. And in Saudi Arabia, major disappointment for CR7's Al Nassr, losing 3-1 away to league leaders Al Hilal, extending the deficit at the top of the table to 7 points. CR7 opened the scoring, making it career goal number 959, but a red card then turned the game on its head and Al Hilal soon took full advantage. So could we be looking at another trophyless campaign for the Portuguese star? Anyways guys, that's all for today's DMAC Daily. I'll see you tomorrow.